Here's what happened. So I was talking with my life partner, Adriana, about ways to communicate this mission of Make Burnout Extinct. And I remember her saying something like, you gotta communicate this better. Like you gotta explain it better. And I think back to it's been since July 15th for the launch of the podcast. So it's been August, I'm counting it on my hands, September, October, November, December, January, February. So it's almost 7 months now since sharing information with you, insights, stories, all on this mission to make burnout extinct, and then helping people with showing them how to work with them of being consistent with their habits and avoiding burnout. I've realized that I can explain this better. And that is going to be my goal for today, is to explain that for you of what make burnout extinct really means for you. And to go from what you're dealing with right now in your day to day, and then seeing that bigger picture and being able to notice the path with clarity that you're traveling on for yourself on this journey. So this is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm recording this Super Bowl Sunday. And so I think about distractions. There's things that come up in life. And so by you being here I think about that throughout the week. There's stuff that comes up. It does say something that by you being here for yourself, to acknowledge and recognize that. And actually doing that, let's take a deep breath in. Let's do a deep inhale and then release. Because with a lot of things that are happening, we can lose presence. And so it's something to bring that back into this moment for you. And if you're new here, welcome. You can subscribe and follow the show if you haven't done that yet for the latest episodes that are coming out. And I have a few commitments for you that I want to share with you. First one is to continue to grow the show. So by you subscribing and following, that honors that commitment, and to grow the show and get this mission out to more people, make burnout extinct. And the second commitment I have for you is to be honest, to share the full experience, the best of my ability, of what it takes to make burnout extinct, and to show with you not just the results, and share with you the results, which is the simplest form of it, is feel more energized, feel excited with that momentum of moving towards the vision you have for your life, of who it is you want to become, the feeling that aliveness, and not just going through your day-to-day motions of your day-to-day life. But being able to realize that it's not just all those results, but it's also the hard work and the effort of showing up, of when you get off track, you get back on track, of dealing with the tornado thoughts of the shame and the guilt that can come up of damn it, you're constantly putting those reps in, and it's reminding yourself to give yourself grace when the shame happens and the guilt comes up for those tornado thoughts. And it's a reminder that this is not an overnight process. It does take some time and patience, but you can notice changes as you show up and you put those reps in, and you notice that progress. And so I remembered lying so many times leading up to my burnout after that social media conference in 2018 where 500 people came together. I thought I had to be perfect. I thought I had to be someone else for other people in my life. It felt like this cage that I couldn't actually share how I was really feeling, the exhaustion that was building inside of me, and the willingness to even ask for help. I wasn't able to do that because I felt trapped. Because then this illusion of perfection would be broken, and everything's okay would be broken. And that was scary. And what I've realized is that I don't want that to happen here. I want to be honest with you. And so to my best of my ability, that is my focus for you. And when I make those mistakes, I'll share it to the best of my ability of recognizing those mistakes and share that with you. So let's get into it for today. And thank you for being a part of this. For today, what I want to talk about is what make burnout extinct really means for you. And how I want to start it off is going from your day to day and then expanding that out to the bigger picture of what is possible for you with make burnout extinct, what it really means. And so how I want to break it down is thinking back to what you're feeling in your day, that stress that could be building right now for you, of you have these challenges that you're facing, if that's in your work, with the communications you have to put out there, so the projects that you're building. If that's in your personal life, with feeling like you're stressed because you don't have either a lot of friends that are around that really know who you are and they just know the perfect version of you, or just one part of you. Or that could be in a relationship that you're wanting to call in, or it's a relationship you're currently in where you just feel like you're not able to share everything that's going on. Or it could be with how you're looking at yourself in the mirror and who you're seeing back. Those feelings of shame that can come up, that guilt of like, damn, like I'm not putting in the effort, if that's based off of how you look to how you feel, of like you're wanting to feel more energized. You're wanting to feel that more that momentum in life to be able to move towards these goals you want to get accomplished. And so let me take it to this one of the health and fitness. I mean, being in the health and fitness category here, I want to expand on this. So what could come up for you is that you may be doing certain habits right now that you don't want to keep doing. You want to stop them. One that comes up with movement specifically is like you might be sitting when you go to work. You might be sitting when you're watching TV, and sitting when you are looking at your phone, sitting during your meals. And you may be feeling like you're just sitting constantly, and it's causing you to feel more tired and fatigued and just feeling like a ugh. And then what you've realized is that movement, literally, it can create more efficient energy with ATP in the body. And then over a longer period of time of movement, it can actually produce more mitochondria that help to facilitate that process in the body. And so you may have been like, okay, I want to work on a new habit of movement, of getting up and doing more things. And so there could be different types of habits that you could try to figure out which one is going to be the one right for you. Because I go back to this quote from John Butcher, someone I really admire, which is, there is no one right way, but there is a right way for you. And it's identifying that for yourself. And that's where this starts in this journey of making burnout extinct, is identifying what is the habit that is energizing for you. And the habit that where you feel like you were able to do this for a long period of time, and you're able to show up and put those reps in. And so to get started with movement, it could be going outside is a habit that you want to try. And so you try it and you notice that you feel more energized after you get up and go out for a walk. It could be going to the Pilates class. It could be focusing on a strength training workout. It could be going for a run. But it's first identifying which one energizes you after you put the rep in. That helps you to feel better. You know, what is that? Elevated mood, not feeling, not having less of those tornado thoughts happening. Feeling excited for where you're headed in the future, and feeling excited for just showing up and putting those reps in, for just putting that rep in. It was exciting to do that. So let's say it's walking for you, right? So you have this habit. Now it's like, how do you stay consistent with this habit and avoid hitting burnout? And what I want to talk about with you is how to define burnout. And that's really important to address it right now. Defining burnout, how I define it, is that it is a major life transition that is forced on you through your body. What has been talked about and how you may realize it is like, oh, feeling stressed, a little stressed or exhausted. Like there's a difference between those two for that level. So you could just feel exhausted in your day. You could feel just some stress in your day. You could feel this overwhelm in your day. But it doesn't mean you've hit burnout yet, because burnout doesn't happen overnight. It's built up over time that leads to the chronic exhaustion, the chronic exhaustion, chronic stress that can create then chronic inflammation in the body. And then it can create this cycle where you're feeling the fatigue and just like, feeling, and then you're getting dragged by the burnout beast for a one-way ticket to hitting burnout. And so when you can remind yourself of like what burnout actually really is, and remind yourself that it's coming from the body, of like the body's giving you signals that you are moving towards hitting burnout, that is where the signals of what energizes you and what drains you is really important to focus on. Where when you can have an energizing habit like going outside for a walk, and it could be in the morning, it could be at any time. Now it's like, how do you work through that for consistency of that habit of showing up and putting those reps in to get it to the point where it just becomes automatic over time? And what I want to go through with you is 3 body-based phases of the habit formation process. This first one, and again, this could be out there for influences out here. This is what I noticed through my own personal experience for these body phases and through inspiration from others, is the awkward phase, the angry phase, and then the autopilot phase. So those are the 3. Let's expand on it. The awkward phase. That's where it's going to be messy and a little weird and kind of like spaghetti phase is how I call it too. It's like the spaghetti, throwing it against the wall, see what sticks, for how it's going to be implemented for a new habit in your daily schedule. You have shit happening, is how I think about it in one way. And you have amazing things happening as well. You got a lot going on in your life. As an optimizer and as a high achiever, you got a lot happening. And so it could feel intense to try to and awkward to try to figure out how to add a new habit in. What I want to remind you is that this habit is there to help energize you. And so when you can remind yourself of that, it's really helpful to show up and put those reps in, but it's remembering that you have the awkward phase. Okay. That happens. Now you move into the angry phase. This is where you've put in a certain amount of reps where the body is now thinking, oh, this could become a habit that sticks. And what I want to remind you is that anything new can create uncertainty for the body because it's creating an unknown potential future for your life. And it can be an unknown that's exciting, that you want, that you're like, yes, I want some changes in my life, but it's still an unknown. And so that can create fear. I think about that with traveling with my life partner. Like when we go to new places, there's a lot of uncertainty that can create fear for me. And that can create a stress response from my body with potential perceived threats. And that is where I have to remind myself and go back to these habits that are energizing that can help me to recognize that I am safe, that these are not perceived threats. This is what I want, is to travel to a new spot. And that is a reminder for you, is to recognize that with the resistance phase, this is natural, that it can happen. And with that resistance, what can happen is your body can try to pull you back to your old ways. And so it can feel like pressure. It can feel like tension. It could feel like anger. That's why I say it's angry phase. But it could feel just like this rebel of I'm not going to show up and put the rep in for my habit. It's like this, you get into self-sabotaging, procrastination. That's where these areas can pop up. But when you can remind yourself that this is natural and resistance is natural, then it becomes a little bit easier to show up and put those reps in. And it's a reminder in this phase of a few tools that I want to share with you to help you in this phase. A few things to be able to support you along the way. The first one is giving yourself grace. So what I do with a habit is, you can think about it as it's the 90% grace is what I call it. And in a month, 30 days, you can think of giving yourself 3 days off to get off track. Because it's not a matter of if, it's when you're going to get off track. It happens. Perfection doesn't exist, but your best exists. And so it's a reminder to yourself that you are going to get off track, but it's about how you then can get back on track, because you have that ability, because tomorrow is a new day to reset. And so giving yourself that grace is really important, of flexibility, that you may have 3 days where you take time off, or just shit happens. And you're like, okay, I totally forgot about showing up and going out for that walk. It's one of those days, but then you're able to get back on track. So that's one way. Another one to help you in the resistance is flexibility. With the challenges of life, you may have had a morning walk planned of 7 a.m., but then you got an unexpected call that you have to go deal with for a challenge at work. So instead of 7 a.m., give yourself the whole day to get this walk in. Or I would recommend get it multiple times in the day. Break it down into, let's say it's 30 minutes you usually do, break it down into 5-minute increments or 10-minute increments. I'm going to try to say increments 5 times fast here, and break it down throughout the day. So then it doesn't feel so big and overwhelming. It's going back to starting small. And that is flexibility in the time throughout the day. You could have then flexibility in that time itself. Let's say you running late to go for your work that you have to get done that day. And instead of having 30 minutes to be able to go for a walk, you only have 5 minutes right now in the morning. Okay, well, just do the 5 minutes. Like 5 minutes is better than no minutes of showing up and putting those reps in. Then the other thing is actually celebrating the rep. And so there is, if you know anything about the history of habits, there is this talk of rewards and having an external reward. The simplest example I can give for you is that I will go out for my 30-minute walk and then I'm going to watch my favorite TV show. And what I get excited about is the TV show. What I don't always get excited about is going out for that walk. Well, this is another reminder for you is that you won't always feel like it for that walk, but it's important to understand how you feel after putting the rep in. Do you feel more energized? Do you feel less of that brain fog? Do you feel less of that overwhelm? And it could be, again, the walk is the example I'm using. You could have a different habit that you're focused on, but it's remembering, do you feel energized after that habit that you put in the reps for? And if it's a yes, then this is a habit that's a burnout-proof habit for you. And then what happens is when you again, you're not always going to feel like it for putting those reps in. But the other thing that I want to share with you is that to give yourself a moment to celebrate it, of showing up and putting the rep in. And what I mean by that is physically acknowledging it for the body, because I don't know, I feel like you're kind of like me, where if I have just an external reward of like, I'm going to go watch my favorite show, after I put the reps in for let's say 2 weeks or something, I'm just going to go and watch my favorite show. Like I'm going to skip the step of getting my workout in, of going for my walk or whatever other habit it is. I'm just going to go straight to the reward. So when you physically celebrate it, and what I mean by that is doing a physical, for me, how I started was like a woo, or it's like a head nod. Now how I do it is I'll do a double tap with both my hands on my shoulder, raise my arms up, and I'll be like, yeah, like I scored a touchdown or a goal. And it's intense. And the reason why I started more like a woo was because I was scared to celebrate. Really, if I really went to the root of it, it was because I was scared for the judgment of other people, scared for people to be like, why are you trying so hard? Scared of them being like, oh, you're kind of weird for celebrating, putting the reps in. But this is what it does for the body. It reminds the body that you want more of this. It then becomes a bridge to help you to not just go straight to your external reward, because you're building actually a habit of celebrating in itself. And it can be a way for the body to release dopamine. And so you're creating an internal reward rather than just an external reward. And that is powerful for those days where you don't feel like it, to show up and put those reps in, because it's a reminder of like, oh, but I'm going to celebrate afterwards. So this is going to be an internal reward for myself. So that's another one. And then what I want to remind you of is three things that you can focus on for you can think of them as affirmation, but just three things to remember in this resistance phase of it. One is that this is natural. You're going to experience body sensations that are going to come up: this pressure, this tension, this resistance, this anger, this frustration, this rebellion. Those are natural for the body. I go back to there's everything happens for a reason. And so the body is, coming back to this, it's in the resistance phase. But there is always a message in the emotion. And that's something I learned from John Butcher, where you can interpret what is coming through for that message. And you can think about it as lessons. I mean, there are lessons in it, and then you can remind yourself that this is natural to have these different emotions come up, because you can understand what it's trying to say to you. And the other thing to remind yourself is that it's temporary. These emotions, these phases of the habit formation process, they are temporary. And so it's a reminder for you as you're going through this that you're not always going to feel this intensity of the resistance to show up and put those reps in. And then the other one I want to share with you is that the reminder that you are safe. Being able to say that to yourself, of you are safe, when you feel these intense emotions that can come up. And the example I think about is you may feel this intense anger when you're in your bedroom or at your house, and it's noticing what's going on and looking around you and noticing, are there any immediate threats? And when you can see that there isn't, and that you're safe in this room, you can remind yourself of you're safe for your body. And then what happens is then the body is able in that moment to recognize that, and it can become a little bit easier to show up and put those reps in. But then you move into this other phase, which is the autopilot phase. And the habit I go to for that one is brushing your teeth. It is where there's a very low conscious effort put towards showing up and putting the rep in for that habit. And what can happen is you have to go through this cycle a few times with these burnout proof habits that you're implementing. So going back to this, going outside for a walk, it's going to have to go back to the awkward phase. And that could be when you're adding another new habit in of, let's say you've gotten this habit of walking to the point where it's gotten into the autopilot phase and there's not a lot of conscious effort being put towards getting outside for the walk. But now you want to improve the quality of the food that you're eating, and you want to eat the right foods that are going to be nourishing for you and that are energizing for you. Well, implementing that new habit in is going to create, with you putting more focus and energy towards that habit, you may have to put less focus towards going out for the walk. And so that's where it can get awkward of how to implement that habit with this new habit and the rest of the stuff you got going on in your day. And so it's different for everyone, but you're going to have to go through this cycle a few times before then the habit, the burnout proof habit, stays in the autopilot phase for the majority of the time. And again, it comes back to perfection doesn't exist. You will have those days where you get off track, but for majority of the time, it could be in that autopilot phase. And it's going to be different for that number. So now you've gotten a burnout proof habit all the way through. And it's for the majority of the time, it's in the autopilot phase. What is also important to remember for the bigger picture as we move down this journey of making burnout extinct is that you have to realize that there's a habits, a combination of habits for you that is going to make burnout extinct in your life, where you are feeling more energized rather than drained. And it's a reminder for you that there are going to be certain days where you get off track, where you're going to be dragged by the burnout piece closer to hitting burnout. But when you've put in enough reps with these foundational habits, burnout proof habits that are energizing for you and that have moved into the autopilot phase, it becomes easier to understand the signals that your body is saying. It's easier to then interpret the message in those signals to notice what big changes in behavior have to happen. And how to break this down is thinking about if you're very tired in the day, noticing why are you tired? What is that signal from the body telling you? Because again, that can over time lead to chronic exhaustion, which can then lead you to one way ticket to hitting burnout. But in that day to day, it's like, okay, have I gone outside and created movement? Yeah. Have I actually stayed hydrated? Have I been eating the right foods for me? And then you can notice which burnout proof habits you haven't been doing for yourself. And then you change the behavior and you show up and you put those reps in. And you start to see what this is able to do for you. Because then you're never getting to the point where you're hitting burnout, where that major life transition that's forced on you with your body, because you understand the signals. You can interpret those signals and again, listen to those signals and then change the behavior. And then it opens up into, what is this going to move you towards for your life? Because what happens is when you have those burnout proof habits and that foundation set up for you, then it's a reminder that this cycle of make burnout extinct, it never stops. Because you think about that loop, it's like when you can recognize those signals in your body, you're coming back to your day-to-day of what are you doing in your day-to-day for those habits? Which ones are you not doing? Which ones could you stick with more? And it's that reminder that you are going to have the days where you get off track. And so there's then a few things that come up in that, which is you are going to have the foundation for those burnout proof habits. You're then going to be able to open up new doorways of possibilities for your life. You're able to start to realize that what you thought you were capable of wasn't even close to then when you move to the next level and the next level and the next level of making burnout extinct. Where then you're able to open up new doorways of possibility. You're feeling more of that energy. You're feeling more of that aliveness. You're creating that momentum. And it becomes this super cool just cycle that grows and grows and grows. And so there's a few things that come up with you as you're thinking back to wanting to optimize everything. It's being able to create feeling satisfied in your day while realizing that you were able to explore more for your life. It's realizing in that moment of satisfaction that you put it all out there for the day. There can be a feeling of good exhaustion, of like, You showed up and you put the work in. And you showed up and you put those reps in. And you were able to get those projects done for your work. You were able to communicate with your partner. You're able to communicate with yourself. You're able to look in the mirror. You think about that with all those burnout-proof habits, and you're moving along this path of making burnout extinct. You're going to get to these levels and levels where you're able to look at yourself in that mirror and be fucking proud of yourself. You're able to recognize how fucking beautiful you are. You're able to see right there how fucking incredible it is for that confidence that has been growing within you, that's been expanding as you continue to move up these levels and as you continue to be in this battle. I think about it with the burnout beast, where you have the days you get off track, you get back on track. You keep going and showing up and putting those reps in for your burnout-proof habits. Like, that's where this is going for you, of making burnout extinct, is this growth of confidence within yourself, this deep level of trust with your body, and this feeling of safety to know that you can handle the challenges that are going to come your way, because you're going to have these challenges that happen. There is no end destination of make burnout extinct. It's going to be a continuous process, but it just goes to you can think about that, newer levels for yourself that opens up new doorways of possibility. And it's being able to hold both of that for making burnout extinct, of being satisfied in your day to day and then excited for the exploration that can happen for your life. Being able to handle the shame that could come up, the guilt that can come up, those tornado thoughts that can happen. To remind yourself that they are temporary, and you can think about it as these cars on these highways that are going by, that you were able to be on that park bench and just look at them go on by. And what I want to remind you of is that you absolutely have the capabilities to do this as a human being, to make this happen for yourself, to let that confidence grow within you, that knowing and that trust that you're honoring your commitments, and to give yourself grace when you get off track. And if you haven't heard it yet today, I believe in you. You are capable, and you got this.